joke, I've been a money maker. I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Popping, locking, stopping, let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school. We think we're so cool. We take it back to the past. We gonna act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger. Make my Jaeger.
Hello, and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio. Comcast Cable Channel 23, Danbury, Connecticut. And there's that camera that Bob's looking for. Bob's already complaining. He's not even on the air yet. Behind the cameras.
I don't see. Are you on?
I am on.
Okay.
There's no red light there,
Bob. My light burned out. I don't know.
Sure. Anyways, January 31st. How about that?
Yeah,
First month of 2013.
Tomorrow is the 1st of February.
Books. February will be here tomorrow. It'll be blowing in.
Yes.
As the wind continues to howl outside down in
last night was
yeah, it was pretty nuts.
It was pretty nasty last night, about
Very
3
nasty.
o'clock.
I heard upwards of winds gusting 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So that was pretty crazy. Well, let's say hello to Bob as we have been chatting with him already. Bob, how you doing there?
I'm doing well.
Missed you last week. We weren't here. We took a week off to recover from the AFC and NFC championship games.
Yes, we did.
And we were back ready to preview the Super Bowl, of course.
Right.
Bob, of course, his show Spotlight On airs Tuesdays at 9. Wednesdays at 12, and Bob, it sounds like you finally have figured out the new technology here.
Yes, we've
got some
gotten
shows
some of the bugs out.
Some new shows ready to air, so we will keep our eye on that and look forward to seeing what you have done. Mr. Mike Toohey is our director tonight, back in the studio. His show Expose Cinema, Fridays at 10, Wednesdays at 1. Of course, we are live till 6:30, 203-792-4101 is the phone number to call if you want to get in on the line here, talk sports, make a prediction perhaps, Super Bowl prediction.
I already got one. I already got mine.
Bob's already. He already knows what he's picking. Yeah. He's going to get ready to make a prediction for you. But if you want to call in, 203-792-4101 is the number. Let's get right to it. The Horror Bowl, the Super Bowl, whatever you want to call it.
That Losers Bowl.
The Brothers Bowl, or Losers Bowl. What do you figure that for, Bob?
Last week, there was a Losers Bowl. Everybody that didn't go to the Super Bowl goes play in the Losers Bowl. That's what they call the Pro Bowl.
The Pro Bowl, right. Well, that was last week. Who cares about the Pro Bowl? Nobody's watching. Well, I guess a lot of people are watching that game. Actually, the ratings are still pretty high, even though they keep talking about getting rid of it. But yeah, Super Bowl, San Francisco 49ers back after a long layoff. What, 18 years or so? Steve Young, the last to lead them, and the Niners bringing in a gaudy 5-0 record to the Super Bowl. When they make it here, they win. Typically, we'll see if that is the case again. A lot of pressure for those guys who have no real part of that former history to live up to that history. We know, of course, Joe Montana with his rings and Jerry Rice and all those guys.
Steve Young and all them other.
Yeah. So San Francisco comes in. They got by the Falcons. And the Dirty Birds were not able to hold on to a lead that they built this week. The week before, they almost blew it against Seattle. They pulled it out in the last second. This time, they almost pulled it out again after blowing a lead. They looked great in that first half. 17-0, 24-14. But then they went behind. And they drive the ball right down the field. Actually, it was a great drive, Bob, I thought, because it took up the final 7 minutes of the game.
Right.
In that NFC Championship game. They got down to the 10-yard line on a third down, and they could have gotten a first down. They didn't need to go in the end zone, but they could not get the first down on third down, or on fourth down was probably a defensive holding, if not a defensive pass interference on that pass underneath to Roddy White. To end that game on the fourth down. So the Falcons had some beef there because he was interfered with, it looked like, on the final play. And if they could have gotten that completion and a first down, who knows, maybe they are the ones in New Orleans right now for the Super Bowl getting ready to take on the Baltimore Ravens, who, of course, finally got past those pesky Patriots who have given them heartbreak in the past.
Your Patriots were looking good in the beginning, and then
they were looking good in the beginning. They weren't looking good in the end, Bob. Defensively, they were looking good in the first half. not so bad, giving up only those 7 points, but the injuries kept mounting and the offense kept sputtering, and the offense left the defense out to dry, and the Ravens got their passing game going in the second half, and they came back. It was interesting, Bob, because both NFC and AFC championship game, probably the first time this has ever happened. The two home teams both have a lead at halftime, and they both get shut out in the second half.
How does that happen?
Unbelievable. The Ravens defense clamped down. You could really see the effects of no Gronkowski in the lineup. The farther you go in the season, as these playoffs get deeper and deeper, you play against better teams. The more difficult it is to overcome those key injuries. And Gronkowski, as we know, is their biggest weapon. In the regular season, they went, 5-1 without him, I believe it was.
Yeah.
But they were expecting him back. He did come back for the final game, played some to loosen himself up, but went down right at the beginning of the Texans game the week before, and that really hurt the Patriots. Without him, we saw what happened last year in the Super Bowl.
Right.
They weren't able to hold on with him playing as a decoy, limited ability with his injury this time around. He wasn't even on the field. So, I don't think it was a huge shock that the Patriots lost. You would have thought they would have scored more points than they did. 13 points, not very good.
Right.
Getting shut out in the second half was terrible. But the Ravens were coming at them, and the Ravens got it done, and they get to go to the Super Bowl. And really, it's been a building process for the Ravens.
This is their second time to the Super Bowl?
Second time. They, of course, beat your G-Men in a rout way back in, 2000?
Yeah.
Right before the Patriots began their run of 3 out of 4 Super Bowls, it was the Ravens who got it going with that great defense of theirs. So they've been trying to get back, and this is year 5 now for Joe Flacco. Joe Cool looking pretty good in the postseason. They also made the change in mid-season this year with the offensive coordinator. Really, about 3/4 of the way through the season, late in the year, he was fired. They made the change there. They wanted to. They didn't feel like they were getting enough out of Ray Rice, and Ray Rice is getting it done for them now. So they have more balance on offense. They certainly have weapons. Anquan Bolden, great pickup by them a couple years ago. He's been somewhat limited use over the last 2 years, but you saw what a factor he can be as he's got those steady hands. Came up with an acrobatic catch that gave them a lead against the Patriots in this game this past weekend, 2 weekends ago. So, with Bolden, Torrey Smith continuing to improve. They added Jacoby Jones. You got Ray Rice. Joe Flacco continues to get better. The tight end, Dennis Pitta, has been a very good player for them on offense this year. And they also, when they made that change with the offense coordinator, they realigned their offensive line, and that has paid dividends for them too. And also defensively, they have gotten healthier as the season has gone on. We'll get to that. Maybe they've been aided in their health, Ray Lewis specifically.
Oh, it's the Ray Lewis show, basically.
Let's get right to that. Ray Lewis, first player ever to come back from a season-ending injury, torn tricep. How did he come back? Was it his prayers to the Lord and his faith, as he would tell you, or was it perhaps use of a PED,
which he got talked, we heard about this past week.
Spray, yes, which was revealed this week. Of course, he says that is just the devil calling, playing tricks on you, and you have to not pay attention to those lies and deceit that the devil tries to spew in your direction, and have faith in your brother man. Sure, Ray, we believe in you 100%.
That's
you
right.
With your holier-than-thou act, and you're certainly, your big-time acting performances on the field with the tears of joy, the tears of emotion. Where's the camera? Where's the camera? The national anthem's being played. I gotta cry in front of the camera. Where's the camera? Oh, the game's over. I must cry. There we see him balling it up. And doing the dance.
He makes a better actor than he does a football player, I think.
Well, he has led the team in tackles in the postseason, so he did come back from injury. He looks like a bionic man with that cage on his face and that thing he's got on his arm, which is ridiculous. So, he's here. He's ready to play. I mean, he is fired up. His act has grown a little tired for a lot of people. Of course, with him getting to the biggest stage of all and him possibly retiring, although Ed Reed hinted that he didn't think Ray Lewis was actually going to retire after it's all said and done now. We'll see how that plays out. but the discussion of his entire legacy, which includes 2 murder victims in Atlanta way back in 1999, that he was involved with, and he was acquitted of that crime, but he certainly was involved. We know he burned his clothes from that night. There was blood in his limousine, and it was his boys who took down those kids. The DA in Atlanta messed that up by trying to go for the big target and Ray Lewis instead of going for possibly the 2 stabbers, which would have been the smarter thing to do. But he was certainly involved. That is part of his legacy. He doesn't want to hear anything about that. He doesn't want to hear about his 6 kids from 4 wives. He just wants to hear about his preacher mentality, his faith in the Lord, and his ride to where dreams are made, the Super Bowl. So here you go, Ray. Your chance to shine. We're sure you'll be dancing at the beginning of the game. Perhaps you'll line up like you did at the end of your last Ravens home game and dance in the final play of the game, which a lot of people have called ridiculous, to line up as a running back so that you could, after they took a knee, do a little dance there to make it all about you, which is very nice for Ray to do. So we'll see. And, of course, we will have a nice sermon to say after the game, win or lose. Stay tuned for that. But about the game, Bob, there's a lot of interesting thing. I mean, we see the San Francisco 49ers with their comeback. If the Niners defense was playing better, more like it was playing last year.
Right.
This year, their defense was not as intimidating, not as, unstoppable, as they were last year. I would be much more inclined to just pick them outright right now for the Super Bowl. I'm a little worried about their defense and some of the things they've given up offensively. I mean, the Falcons have weapons of their own. We know in the second half they were shut out. They did have that last drive that took 7 minutes, went down the field. It didn't end in a touchdown, but they moved the ball. And in the first half, they were lights out against this Niners defense. So, the defense is a little bit shaky as far as I'm concerned, and the Ravens do have weapons. On offense, we don't know how Kaepernick is going to respond. So far, he has responded well. Basically, since he has taken over for Alex Smith, they played a lot of primetime games, big spots. He's done, for the most part, very well. His one primetime game against Seattle, he was shellacked in. He did have a good primetime showing against the Patriots in a big spot. So we will see how that goes. And in the playoffs, he's played well, although he didn't have the dominating game against the Falcons that he had the week before. So, against the Packers. But he has looked pretty cool under pressure, but still, he's only started, 8-9 games now total? So he does not have much experience. We know he's got the legs to run, but he also has the big arm. He has more weapons this year than Alex Smith had last year. Randy Moss comes to mind, who's been mostly a decoy, but, and of course, Randy had to make some noise this week at Media Day, claiming that he was the greatest receiver of all time. Coming from Randy, I would expect nothing less, and I'm actually happy that he stepped out and decided to say something to juice up the festivities down there in New Orleans. That's Randy Moss in a nutshell, the man who said straight cash, homie. What else would you expect him to say? So I have no problem with him saying that. I think everybody realizes a former 49er, Jerry Rice, most likely holds the title as greatest receiver of all time. Randy Moss right in that conversation, but so he's there. Fred Davis, of course, or Vernon Davis, is the great tight end, and he has been getting more touches lately. They are without last year's miracle catch, lucky catch for the G-Men, Mario Manningham, right?
Yes.
He is out, as he has been injured for a couple weeks now, missing the playoffs. So that's a big blow for them. But they do have Crabtree, who has come on, and he has been cleared in the supposed sexual assault thing that took place the week before the Falcons game. So, of course, there's always all these side stories, unfortunately, with sports. And we'll get to some more steroid, perhaps use Ray Lewis and maybe some other man in a different sport. A-Fraud, A-Royd comes to mind.
Somebody who isn't going to play for...
we'll get to that, Rob. Let's just put it this way. When do the fans get to step in and just start suing these athletes? Because it's the fans who are paying for it. We're the ones who have to shell out all the money to go see these games, spend all the money on, cable contracts going up because the TV networks are signing huge mega deals with these sports entities.
Right.
And meanwhile, these guys are complete frauds and they're jacking their salaries up. I mean, A-Rod is earned, or he's going to
earn the next 5 years,
over $500 million.
Yeah.
Who is paying for that?
Us.
We are paying for that. So when does the fan get to step in and say, we've had enough?
Right.
You know, everybody says, well, the fan could just boycott going to the game. Well, why do we have to boycott going to the game? We want to go to the game, but we can't go to the games because they're too expensive.
Right.
And we're priced out of our seats because these guys are making humongous money and they're a joke. They're a complete fraud. They lie and cheat and all this stuff. So it's completely ridiculous. I got ahead of myself with this whole MLB thing, but of course that story broke this week.
Yep.
More PED dealings with Alex Rodriguez being linked to a place down in Miami all the way back to 2009. Before we jump too far into that, let's get back to football real quick so we can wrap it up. One thing I would like to add about the game, pre-game festivities on a nice note.
Oh, for a change?
For a change. 26 students and faculty, mostly students, from the Sandy Hook Elementary School
that's
will
good.
be down there, a chorus of them singing America the Beautiful. And that will send chills up everyone's spine as they see this. I actually happen to know someone who has a child who is involved in this, will be singing, so just an amazing experience for these kids to be able to do that. They are just overjoyed with the opportunity to have this trip, taken care of for them by the NFL. They will be singing America the Beautiful right before Alicia Keys does the national anthem. We'll see what Beyonce does lip syncing at halftime.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
Well, we just hope Alicia Keys does a lip sync to be.
Yeah. So make sure you tune in early enough. Pre-game festivities go on pretty much all day.
Yeah.
But that'll be great to see that. Those kids will be overjoyed, and that will be a touching moment for sure. The game, defensively, the Ravens have gotten healthy, whether it was by deer antler spray or
whatever you want to call that.
But Lewis is back. T. Suggs is back. Pollard is back. Ed Reed is there. So, their defense has gotten better and healthier as the year has gone on. So that can help them. We mentioned their weapons. I think these teams are pretty much evenly matched, mirror images almost, if you look at it. So it's going to be a tough game. I think it'll be a close game. Basically, if the numbers turn out to be any combination of 7 and 3, I'll be happy because those are my numbers in the box.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting 7 and the Ravens 3.
Well,
so if it's 7-3 after the first quarter, 7-3 at the half, I will be very happy about this. If it's 17-13 at the end of the game, I'll be even more overjoyed. So I think my pick is going to be San Fran 17-13 to win it.
Well, I picked 31-27.
And we know from history that Bob Ross Jr. has experience picking these games and getting them correct. So if you were a gambling man, what was it again, Bob?
31-27.
31-27. How about we go, and you're picking San Francisco?
Yes.
I'd prefer it if you said 27-23, but I'm sticking with 17-13 San Francisco to stay perfect in the Super Bowl. If you have a prediction out there, 203-792-4101 is that number, or if you want to chime in about A-Royd, A-Fraud, all that good stuff, you can do that.
Or you can come to a Danbury Western game, which we don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, come on down.
Matter of fact, next week.
What do we got?
Next Saturday.
Saturday, is this the
hot stuff breakfast?
2 steps?
It's 2 steps.
9 o'clock in the morning, Saturday?
Yep.
Come on down, see Westerners and Whalers?
No, Westerners.
Westerners only,
yes.
Okay. So this is a Westerners event, a breakfast at 2 steps, Saturday the 9th.
The 9th.
At 9 o'clock in the morning down there.
And then on the 10th, we have the 5K at 11 o'clock.
Oh, that's right. They got the 5K coming up. Where is that?
It's going to start from down at the ice arena, and I believe it goes through down to Rogers Park and then comes back.
Right. Hopefully the weather will be good this time of year.
And then the Chili Fest is at 1 o'clock.
What is that?
The Chili
cook-up. So if it's cold while you're out there running, then you go right into the arena, get yourself some hot chili, and you'll be all set. That'll be good. Anything, you mentioned a couple of things. Make it quick, Bob. We don't have much time.
The Danbury Whalers had a very good game last week. They had a
3,000 plus.
Oh yeah, on Saturday they
So
played.
the crowds are still packing
Yes.
it in down there.
And this week they play the Williamsport. Well, it's no longer Williamsport now.
Formerly
It's just
Williamsport,
Pennsylvania.
who is, by the way, the defending champions of the FHL. Who did they play last year?
They played us, the Whalers, in the.
But they weren't even in Pennsylvania.
No,
last
they were in
year.
New Jersey last year.
New Jersey, that's right.
So they're playing. The
they've
team
gone through
had
some overhaul.
folded. The league took it over, and
So the
There we
league
go,
is
new
dealing with some
players
issues, but
and-
they're trying to keep it together. Of course, the Whalers still put on a good show, and the crowds still come out and support them. You know where they are in the standings right now?
they're number 2 in the standings.
Number 2, so they're in prime position to maybe have a home playoff
Yes.
series, home ice advantage as the season winds down. But they still got a little ways to go before the season ends.
And a lot of our players have been called up.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Nick Nieder has been just called up. As a matter of fact, today to Augusta, and Kelly Miller is called up to the ECHL. I believe it's Huntsville.
All right. Well, let's go NHL real quick since
Yeah.
we're talking hockey.
My Rangers are.
Forget about your Rangers, Bob. How about my Bruins?
Oh,
Give me a break. Come on, 5-0-1. We beat your Rangers.
I
Sure,
know.
you came back and got us in overtime. Big deal. We took the point on your ice. We beat the Islanders, who were off to a good start. We
Yeah.
beat the Devs in a shootout
right.
the other night.
Last night was good games too.
Good games tonight, too.
Yes.
Buffalo at Boston, Islanders at New Jersey, and the Rangers are home against Pittsburgh, playing without Callahan.
Yeah, he had that bad.
Got in a little fight, and he hurt his arm out 10 to 14 days in a shortened season. That
Yes.
can amount to a lot. But the Bruins look good, 5-0-1, playing very well. And you got to love about the Bruins, Ray Bork Jr.
Yes.
is playing for the Bruins right now, so you love that. Rangers, of course, had the slow start, but they pulled themselves to 3-3. The Islanders, how about the Icelanders? 3-2-1 have played pretty well. They pounded the Penguins the other night. We'll see what they do against the Devils tonight. Devils 3-0-2. Out west, 6-0-0. Chicago, San Jose, 6-0-0. A couple teams looking good. That's your hockey. We'll get more into that as the season goes on. NBA, the Celtics dealt, by most accounts, a very tough blow in losing Rajon Rondo to a torn ACL at the end of a game that could only be described as an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, it
Their
was.
6th straight loss, which I had the misfortune of sitting through and watching the entire
you were
thing.
watching it the other night.
Double overtime affair down in Atlanta. They had a 26-point lead in halftime, in the first half, 19 at half. They blew that lead in a matter of minutes to start the second half. Then they rebuilt it to 9 in the final 3 minutes and blew that and lost by double digits in double overtime. And Rondo tore his L at the end of that in the second overtime. So he is out for the year. Big blow. Personally, I think the Celtics will be maybe not fine and dandy, but I think they'll be fine because they have struggled, obviously, losing 6 straight. Their balance has been bad. The new players haven't fit in. They're all going to fit in now because they're all going to get much more opportunities. Jason Terry, the Jet, is going to fit in nicely. Courtney Lee's going to get more of a chance. Leandro Barbosa, maybe Jeff Green will get more comfortable. Chris Wilcox is back from injury. And Pierce and Garnett are going to do their thing. And Pierce, if you remember last year, Rondo was out for a few weeks, and they played very well without him. And Pierce was handling a lot of the ball handling. He was passing the ball, and there was a lot more ball movement. Rondo is a great talent who, he racks up the assists, but there's just something about his game where he just pounds the ball too much, dribbles in circles. The ball movement isn't great. I think they're going to get out and run. I think they're going to spread the floor a lot more. I think they're still going to be a postseason team for sure, but we'll see long-term how that affects them. But so far, so good. They beat the Heat without him, and then they came back and beat Sacramento handily last night. 2 straight.
How about my Bricks
down.
last night?
Brick City against Orlando. I'm not going to make a big deal out of that,
It was a good game.
Bob. Whatever. Carmelo Anthony becomes the all-time leader in consecutive 20-point scoring games in Knick history.
Yes.
So he set a little record last night. I think the big news for the Bricks is Raymond Felton is back. They struggled without him. They're still 5-5 in the last 10, but he's only been back for a few games, I think, now. But Jason Kidd, his back is acting up because he had to carry the load while Felton was out. We know Raweed, or Rashid, as we might say. Wallace is still out. We'll see if he comes back. So the Knicks still have their issues. The Nets, of course, cooled off big time by the Heat.
Last night was a good game. It was,
first half, maybe. Then they were destroyed, 105-85 by Miami last night. But the Nets under P.J. Carlissimo still doing very well. The Knicks at 28-16. Brooklyn, 27-19, right behind them. Big news in the NBA, and I was
the big trade, right?
Bob, you know I've been watching this all season long. I thought when they did some salary dumping 2 weeks ago that we were in the clear, but we were not.
No.
Memphis, unbelievable. I thought they were better than this. I thought they were going to hold on to my man Rudy Gay.
No, but he's
gone. And I mean, they are 29-15 before the trade. We'll see what happens. They trade him to Toronto to dump salary. This is horrible. If I'm a Memphis fan, I am livid. He's leading the team in scoring. They're playing, very well. And they got to trade him because they don't want to pay his salary. He doesn't even have a mega deal.
Right. It's a three-way trade, right?
Three-way trade. They get Tayshaun Prince from Detroit and a couple other guys. Jose Calderon from Toronto goes to Detroit. Rudy goes to Toronto. Not happy. And the Fakers, how about LA? Still having some trouble, Bob. They did win 3 in a row, but they followed it up with a loss on the road last night. Steve Nash returning to Phoenix, and they blow a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, and they lose, I think it was their 9th straight on the road.
Right.
So the Fakers cannot get it done on the road. Not good for them as they lose again, and they are sitting at 20-26, Bob. It is going to be a tough hill for them to get back. And Dwight Howard, on again, off again, hurt in last night's game. I still say the Fakers are going to miss, Bob, the playoffs
They're
this year.
Miss by the...
I mean, 20-26.
Yeah.
I mean, we're halfway through the year pretty much, more than.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of teams in the West ahead of them. So it's going to be problems. NCAA basketball real quick.
Yeah.
It's 1992 all over again. Michigan, Fab Five. Last time they were number 1. They are number 1 now. Watch out, they play Indiana on Saturday night. UConn, big game tonight against Providence. We'll stay tuned for that. Tennis, Australian Open, Djokovic and Azarenka win. Sloane Stephens, watch out, a young American knocked out Serena in the semi. And how about golf as they get ready, Masters starting to tune up? Nothing with soccer, but Phil Mickelson shot a 60 today, Bob.
Yeah.
11 birdies, and of course Tiger won last weekend. A lot of people trying to make a big deal of that. I believe we are out of time, yes?
Are we out of time?
We are out of time. No, yes, maybe so.
Time to wave bye-bye.
We are out of here. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
I won't be here next week, but I will make a call in to the show.
All right, and we will see you then. Happy Super Bowl viewing. Take care.